It's interesting. So, in fact, I mean, I can really make you believe in it. Because I sent a message to my team 3 months before they emailed and said, I want to be a dragon. And then I got an email from the BBC saying, we want to meet, we're from Dragon's Den. Yeah. Even there's other things that, like, pretty much everything significant that's happened in my life, I've literally got in writing me saying I want to do it. It's within about up to a year of it happening. And Dragon's Den was another example. I sent the screenshot to my team the other day so they could see. I say, and this is the exchange, I've decided I want to do Dragon's Den. I want to be a dragon. And then my manager at the time was kind of a bit skeptical. And my response is, we can do anything we want if we believe we can. And then if you scroll down in the thread 3 months, I dropped the email in from the BBC and they've contacted me saying, we want to meet with you to talk to you about Dragon's Den. The concept of manifestation is interesting and dangerous because there's a culture of believing that you just have to set the sat nav. No, you have to go through the BS. Yeah, exactly, which is what I always say. You have to, like, I always say to people, if you just set the sat-nav in your car in the morning, where will you go? Nowhere.
I agree.
You'll be in your car, and eventually you'll die of hunger in your car. If you just drive, where will you go? Nowhere. You'll be lost. You have to set the sat-nav, and then you have to drive. The driving is probably the harder part. We can all sit in our bed and dream big, although a lot of the time we don't actually believe those dreams, but we can all sit around and set sat-navs. Driving is the hard part. It's the bit nobody wants to do, so one without the other makes no sense to me. And yes, of course, like, I definitely manifested my entire life. I mean, my diary at 18 years old, which I've shared a million times online, I've shared the picture, it's on my Facebook, everything. I wrote in the front page of my diary, when I was 18, living in the worst part of the town, literally penniless, hadn't paid my rent for 4 months and my rent was only £150. I wrote, by the time I'm 25, a Range Rover Sport will be my first car. I didn't have a driving license at the time. I will have £1 million, I'll have a six-pack and a girlfriend. And by the age of 23, a Range Rover Sport was my first car. I had many millions of pounds. I had a six-pack and a girlfriend. Like, so of course, like, I wrote that in my diary and then I aimed for it. But then I was willing to drive. Yeah. And I was willing to drive in an obsessive way, which I don't really think many other people are willing to do.
I think it's driving until you get there, right? Like, it's not getting out of the car until you get to where you want to go.
Yeah, and hitting a couple of dead ends along the way, you know, because any hypothesis you have about the route is probably wrong. It's nearly always wrong. Like, if you look at all major companies, whether it's Netflix or whatever, their hypothesis about how the pathway to their success is so clearly fundamentally wrong. And so you go, okay, well, how do I be the type of person that is going to set a hypothesis that I know is wrong, and still survive and get there? Well, it comes down to, like, humility, ego, caring more about success than being right. So for me, I mean, started a business, had a hypothesis, turns out I was wrong, but I was able to change direction and pursue something else in time before we capsized and died.